Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam, Rasulullah. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Islamic Wealth Talk podcast. This is all about helping Muslims grow and prosper in a financial perspective. And today we've got a very special guest with us, Abu Bakr, a local here in Winnipeg who has basically built a painting company from the ground up. And so I thought we'd take some of the big lessons that we can learn as entrepreneurs, as Muslims, how we can build our income in a halal way. And I want to get your expertise and knowledge to help others who are trying to build up their businesses and what they can do. So thank you for coming on.
نعم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Now assalamu alaikum, greetings to you, everybody listening. For me, I started as a humble beginning, and I'm an immigrant here, just like most people who immigrate to Canada, looking for opportunity and hope. And so when I landed here, I was a student going to school. The environment here in Canada was totally different compared to back home, where they say that it takes a village to raise a child, which means that everybody in the community somehow know each other. When we came here, it was totally different. It's a new environment, mixing of people. You gotta take a bus to go to school, etc. And from that, it was ability for us to. It was such a big impact on us. It was a whole shift. And what it did for us is I found myself in a new environment, looking for a way to fit in. First of all, I finished my high school. A teacher found me a painting job during some high school summertime period, and I went and I was helping some guys. This was industrial painting, and when I graduated, I said, let me go and do this more, and I did that. So I found myself, having a job and being well off and no problems. But and fast forward, my wife had a child, and I was working, 3 weeks to a month away from home. So I said, I want to be home. My first child, Abdul Karim, was, the first child. And a little bit of my background, I was raised by a single mother. My father passed away at a very, very early age, at the age of 1. So my mom being there for me, I didn't have the father side of me, so I had to find friends and later on want to be a dad, an example for my children. So that led me to work in the city, found myself, going to Red River College, also getting some skills there in terms of painting and decorating. Worked for many companies in the city, and I met my mentor. My first mentor is Mubarak, and he advised why don't you start on your own? It didn't sound in there, but he sent me a quote that say, you can inherit your children your business, but you cannot inherit them your job. And to me, being the fact that I had looked that I started industrial, and now since I had a child, and now I have to quit this job, I have to find a new work, so I was shifting. And whether I had a reputation, I had to make a resume, and somehow how to sell myself, I would call it, tell the people how good I am in order to, give me the work. First forward, I started on my own, and it's always good to have a mentor or someone there that you can talk to besides just your family members, for example. Because there's a saying that the only limit that we set is only set by our own mind, right? And as Muslims, as long as it's halal, but at the same time, if your mind gives you limits, in order to expand beyond that, you gotta have someone who can see outside of you, and that's what happened for me. And fast forward, I started, the painting business, namely Connected Painting, and it was my old wife's advice to assist me on this.
Mashallah.
And 3 years in, and now we are selling, majority Winnipeggers, and we're looking to go into other provinces as well.
That's fantastic. And one of the things I want to kind of circle back to is that you talked a little bit about, the having your family surround you. And one of the things that, we absolutely love our families, and our families give us tons and tons of benefits. Mm-hmm. One of the things I've noticed, especially with the people that you surround yourself with, right? If you're on a path or a journey that's different than where you've always been and kind of where you've always come from, sometimes unintentionally or intentionally or whatever, family can actually be a hindrance and get in your way, right? Sometimes you're, you know, and I heard this quote, it's a powerful one, where your biggest fan is someone you've never met who's cheering you on anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And one of your biggest enemies is someone who, you know, is next to you all the time, right?
Wow, that's
and they might not be an enemy in like an adversarial sense, but there might be like a subconscious fear that they're going to lose you to success, to what, any of those things.
Yes, and for entrepreneurs, you know, people who are looking for opportunity, there's a saying that, you know, focus on what you want versus what you don't want. So I was just focused on those who are really, you know, seeking to take the message and apply it, versus the ones who are just, you know, here to browse around and not take advantage. A friend of mine shared me that there's 4 categories of people. One have no information, no idea whatsoever, and that's the one category. They can move into knowing information. The second category is they know information, and they are hyped about it. Like, oh yeah, this is great. The third category is they have it, they know what to do, they got everything, but they don't take action. And the fourth is the one that get to know the information and they take action. As our goal is, you know, we always want to move into, you know, get the information, apply, right? As, you know, we had talking before this, you know, having to apply the things that, you know, we're learning and making sure that we also tracking and see how the progress is happening.
Yeah. Well, just before we got started in this podcast, you and I were actually having a really interesting conversation in the sense that, like, when you're out there painting, you're listening to audiobooks, you know, kind of gaining information, knowledge, wisdom, while you're kind of out there painting and doing the things that you want to do. And so one of the things we started discussing was the fact that I think you always need to leave room for implementation of the knowledge that you're acquiring. So I want you to just say a little bit about, you know, why did you start doing that? Because a lot of people, you see them when they're painting, they're listening to music, they're kind of goofing around or whatever.
Wow, that's a
what
great
made
question.
you kind of develop that mindset?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, like I was saying, you know, after my mentor says, why you don't just start on your own? First of all, I had to convince myself to quit the job. I had to leave everything, like credit card, cancel everything. To be honest, I would move into my mom's basement with my wife and 2, you know, I think this way 3 kids now. And it was just about the commitment. It wasn't about like, oh, my brothers or my neighbors or someone is gonna see me or think or otherwise. It was just like, if it's to be, it's up to me.
Yeah.
And I'm not impressing anybody. So and then it's always great to have hope and faith. Here's the thing for every Muslim, if there's one thing I can say is like, commit your salah. Because if you commit your salah and that one thing, especially on time, or make your plans around it, you're gonna find other things become easier. Although you don't track it, like pay attention, you know, having the self-awareness in a moment. And just see, oh, I just dodged this accident. That's a different self-awareness.
Yeah.
But there's many things that can help you with, whether in business, whether it's opportunity, whether it's staying commitment. So Salah, it became my most important thing to pay attention to, which is, if you know about, you know, habit stacking, right? So I had to deal with that. So how can I habit stack or not? And then as soon as I was, you know, putting myself to habit stack of Salah, then it was much easier. So it's ability. So for someone who doesn't understand habit stacking, it's ability to have habits you normally do, and if you want to introduce new habits, you can easily put them on the habits you're already doing, like brushing your teeth, you know, or something else. There's many things you automatically as an individual you do. And some of those are not good, they're not beneficial, some are good. So it's also a way to actually get rid of some of them. If you took a book and say, I'm going to track my every 30 minutes, it's the hardest thing to do, but if you can, then you may be able to, I just spend 20 minutes doing this. Perhaps I could use in doing that, right? As far as going that route, Audible it was my ability to learn. Because my mentor said, if you've got to make it, you have to commit and you have to learn.
Yeah.
And he said, first thing Mount Solomon was asked, like, read.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's, for us, it's like a key. So you got to make sure your brain is fed, just like your stomach, right?
Well, and this is so interesting because one of the things that they always would do, the Sahaba, is they would learn the Quran, they would learn pieces of the religion and the wisdom and different things like that, but then they would also have to implement it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just you're listening, you're learning, you're memorizing the Quran, but how do you implement in everyday life? And I think that translates really well to when you're in business and you're learning about whatever it is you're learning about, whether it's growth, whether it's marketing, whether it's sales, whether it's customer service, whatever it is. And I think one of the big problems with this, especially when I was getting started, was that there's so much information and all the business gurus out there saying read books, learn books, whatever. But then so you get a bunch of these different books, you start to consume the knowledge, right? Mm-hmm. But then you finish this one, now it's on to the next one. Now it's on to the next one, now it's on to the next one. But if you really take the time to implement the lessons and the nuggets that come out of that book, not every single book is going to be layered with wisdom and you absolutely can't implement every single thing. But what's the one thing from that book that you can take and use and implement?
There it is, you mentioned it, what's the one thing, there's actually a book called The One Thing. If there's any entrepreneur that are working on their business or want to really pay attention and actually expand their business, they can read that book, The One Thing, The One Thing, it will help you to come down to that one thing that will help you grow your business. Yeah. This applies into the books also, like what are you looking for out of it? But it came down to, for me, you knowing that 100 years from now we're not going to be here. Yeah. Okay? And having that reality and knowing, so is this a game or to me it's like a game, it's like you put here, in fact you don't know, you and I don't choose where we're born or what family we chose in, right? But you have to be a good, movement, right? Because this Muslim is a good movement that can actually, make sure that you do your best that you can to achieve, the success and, to narrow out. So out of that journey, coming back to that question you asked, how did I put these things together? I started with, the Salah. And then the Quran is really important to listen to. And coming down to the one thing, what is the weapon of Islam or it's the Quran. Like if we had a quote, right? And what's the evidence is got to be the evidence. Otherwise there's no point of being there. As for Muslims, when if you want to say what about Islam, you go to Quran versus Shaykh this or this news or that. I used to do street dawah center here, place in downtown, and man, when I started, I was scared, right? Like those lot of feelings you feel in your belly. And fast forward, I'm talking to people. Just the only word was there. What is Islam? Who is Muhammad? Yeah. And people will tell you, Islam, I think, is this terrorist or this something that is just resonating in someone's mind, but it just became an information that got fed by media. Yeah. So the more us Muslims we get away from that, I'm born a Muslim, I'm just gonna pray, and actually go deeper into it and study. Yeah. And the very tool is Quran itself. If you don't understand Arabic like myself very well, now find the translation on your own. You don't gotta impress anybody really, because Allah sees us all deep down. And so that was able to give me the ability to know what is right and what is wrong. In fact, out of the things I got of that Quran was fear only who? Allah. Fear only me, Allah says, right? Yeah. And the more I find from my supervisor to my boss that time, I'm transitioning into studying on my own. All those fears, as long as I would remember that there's only one worthy of fearing. Yeah. And I was doing my best, praying, fasting if on the days I was able to, and in Ramadan, as long as I was doing the right thing, I was confident and had hope that things would work. So it's a key, right? Yeah.
Well, and I think this is another thing, right? Is that at the end of the day, we do everything we can in our power to make whatever it is we're trying to do a success. When I say that, everything in our power, right?
Yeah.
We get a lot of people who make excuses and different things like that. But if you've done the work, if you're putting in the effort, if you're putting in everything like that, one of two scenarios happens, right? Either one, this is not for you, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already written it,
Yeah.
right? Or number two, Allah will provide a way no matter what the obstacles are, right? Those are the only two scenarios that can come of trying anything as an entrepreneur,
Mhm.
right? You either do everything you absolutely can to make it work, it doesn't work. That's written by Allah. Or you do everything, or there's every obstacle in your way, and somehow you still manage to overcome. And it's written for you for that to be your source of your source of sustenance, everything like that. So at the end of the day, what I would say to any entrepreneur, I've been down this road myself, 2019, left a big investment firm, had one kid, another on the way, and at the end of the day, COVID hits, all these other kind of things. But all these obstacles, no matter what, Allah has a way if you're ready to put in the work and the effort.
Right. So you've got to, it's like, make dua entire Congo, right?
Absolutely.
Trust in Allah, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's totally true. And here's the thing, like, as long as like Islamic wealth talk, is based on us in thinking in abundance,
Mhm.
taking advantage of resources around us.
Yeah.
And other than the limits, like I was saying, that people were set for our own selves in our mind, is the only net we're in.
Yeah.
If we listen to more information, apply it, we're gonna see more difference,
Yeah.
things happening. So part of it is like I came out of that journey. I needed to work on personal development in
Mhm.
all areas, not just one area.
Yeah.
Be spiritual, be and financial too is a part of it, right?
Mhm.
Learning how to save, to invest, all these things. And I remember as I was doing my first, I think this was my first year to be exact, Dizzy.
Mhm.
That's when I got in contact with you, with my wife, and we came down and signed
Yeah.
papers, and I'm like, yeah, I want to invest.
Yeah.
Because one of the book I was reading, The Richest Man in Babylon,
Yeah.
and I had talked about investing and things like this. And I said, I gotta apply as much as I can. And here's the thing, I could have went to any bank, but I was like, who's the brother I know around?
Yeah.
Who's someone has the knowledge, the information that I can go and access to?
Yeah.
Just that, because it's the only thing that limits you sometimes. Like you put a limit to that thing, being like, oh, who can I call? I don't have anybody, and you just stop there.
Mhm.
But I promise you, if you ever go beyond it and concentrate on that thing and figure out what you're gonna find a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well-
every master was once a disaster. So it's just when you're in the process, you're not seeing the thing, but if you can look back, you see how everything is connecting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and this is the thing, right? And this comes down to everything. And I think within your business, within almost any business, right? You're always going to get people who are customers, different things like that, or prospects, for lack of a better term, who say, okay, why can't I do this myself, right? I can pay it myself. I can go online and manage my own money.
Mhm.
I can, cook my own food. I can, right? Like, and it may be cheaper, but it costs you something. It'll cost you your time,
Yes.
right? Or it'll cost you expertise. Or maybe we're in one of the worst markets we've seen in the last 10 years, right? And so it'll cost you in the sense that maybe you don't have the emotional strength to deal with the downturns that happen when you're investing.
Right.
And so, for all the people who are kind of do it yourselves, what I always say to them is like, those aren't your customers. Those aren't your clients. Those people are the people that, want to do it themselves, good for them. But our customers are the people who don't have any time, who don't want to think about investing, who don't want to think about money, who don't just, okay, I know you do it, please. I want to spend this time with my family. I want to spend this time making more money as a doctor or my painting business or whatever. And I'm quite sure it's the same thing with you. People don't want to spend their entire 2 weekends, 3 weekends painting their ceilings or things like that. No, they would rather someone else do it and they can go off to the lake.
It is the way to live a happy, successful life. Here's the thing: Allah created us all and gave everybody a way to serve the other. So if you're either serving people, that's great. If you're not, find a way to serve somebody, because that's the way you're able to. Because if you serve people, you're not gonna have any problem.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: in this society, you can either, sell and buy, or buy and sell.
Yeah.
What I mean by that, you either have a service you're gonna sell and make money and buy whatever product you have, or you sell the products, you get the money, and you buy the stuff you have. So as long as you learn there's no selfishness, and then you come up with the way to serve others, and then there's no problem. So there's actually wealth in abundance, and there's good ways to inquire, there's bad ways to inquire. What I had the problem with, to be honest, Jesse, because I come from Africa, and a lot of people did have this problem, is money is the root of evil, or money has some sort of a problem. But money is just a tool. It's just like a weapon. The way you use it can define, how you can inquire. And other than people having a problem associating money with evil, the other thing is people have a problem of having enough reasons, it's just, I have enough to pay my bill this month, next month, and 3 months, or whatever, even a year, and they just go chill, or do things that waste time. But if you have big whys, I want to contribute, I want to make an impact, I want to travel, I want to go see this and that, those things make you seek ways to inquire more money, which it doesn't have to be, blood and sweat, there's always way to make it, and it's just a matter of finding the information and getting to it.
And I would say to that point, absolutely, money, weapons, whatever, it can be the root of all evil. And one of the things I always like to tell people when we're sitting down to talk about investment, because there's such a wide range of things you can invest in. You can invest in a gambling company, or you can invest in medical science, right? You can invest in both of those things, right? And so it's not about the money itself does nothing. It can help you buy, it can help you sell, it whatever. It's a means to an end. But at the end of the day, when you're investing it, you can either choose to invest it in a halal way or haram way, and that makes all the difference. Similarly, when you look at some of the wealthiest people on the planet, if we took all the billionaires and all they did was pay their zakat, we could end world hunger, right? So there's a lot of benefits that can come from wealth, but it's all about how we end up using it at the end of the day.
I think we're gonna have to take a journey on all of us to do it, because we have the information, we just gotta apply. I had to get myself off whatever I was doing to be here, and thank you so much to bring me here. But what can we learn and take on from here? And all those individuals, let's take action, because action determines the whole legacy thing we leave behind. Our life is to live, love, and learn and leave legacy, really, if you look at how it's supposed to be. And there's a book I'm reading, it's called First Thing First, by Stephen Covey. He wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
I know that one.
He mentions we have many roles to play in life. So we have to come up with that self-awareness and go back to what are my roles? I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a parent, or there's so many roles. If you sat down and you wrote on a piece of paper your roles, you find so many. And from that, if you would, then on the next side, you're putting on, let's say, figuring out on the week that comes, what are you going to do? It's going to help you know that you're not just focused on one area, let's say work, or just the family. So it's always the key to, always figure out which roles you play in, and give out to the other people those opportunities to help you, whether investing, whether paint your house or clean, so you can spend your roles you're supposed to be doing in other areas versus just one area.
Absolutely. So we're just about at the end of the time here, but the one thing I always ask everybody when they come on the podcast is about legacy, in the sense that so everything goes 100% your way in the next 5 years, 10 years, inshallah, may Allah make it easy for you. What legacy do you want to leave behind on the Muslim community? Maybe it's your Muslim community, the greater Muslim community, the community in Canada. What do you want that legacy to be?
This is, I'm a dreamer, to be honest, my brother, and a dreamer, what I mean is like, as long as it's halal and, I'm always positive, I think big. And one of the, that's a great question, and it requires to be a dreamer I think, to answer it, I want to contribute in a big way. I see myself as someone who want to connect both worlds, and, Western and Africa, and, part of it, I come from Congo, whether I bring peace there or whether, and I also see myself, we were talking last time, we had a lunch a while ago.
Yeah.
And we talked about micro banking, and things like that. So that's also an interest I have in, but I want to be a leader who is seeking to raise other people to be leaders as well, not seeking followers, right? Because we know where that is, right?
Yeah,
as Muslim is just to empower the human beings, because I figured that other than me looking for my own way of making wealth, there's beyond other than that. There's ability to contribute, reach out, even travel the world. So I see myself more finding ways to contribute more to Islamic wealth by establishing, resources and doing like micro banks to help young entrepreneurs, whether through the studies to apply to marketing and everything else in between. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a great goal, and
Thanks.
I wish you all the best. So thanks so much for coming in.
Yeah.
And that's all from me today. Thank you all for tuning in to Islamic Wealth Talk, and we will see you guys next time.